This is the City of Leavenworth Planning Commission meeting for Monday, August 1st, 2022. Roll call is established. We now have a quorum, so I appreciate that, everyone here. Our last meeting was June 6th of 2022. I looked at those minutes. Does any commissioner have any additions, changes to the June 6th meeting, our last meeting? If not, I'll take a motion to approve those as submitted.
So moved.
Need a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
On our agenda tonight, there's 4 issues for our new business: 2022-13, 2101 Vilas, and portion of 21013 Vilas. I'll come back to that one on a rezoning. The second item will be 2022-14 Green and Meyer subdivision preliminary plat. Third issue on our agenda is 2022 Green and Meyer subdivision final plat. The fourth issue is 2022 supplement 3400 Iowa Street, which is a special use permit related to a child's center. I will go back to the first agenda item of our business for the commissioners. 2022 2101 Vilas and portion of 2013 Vilas. Conduct a public hearing for case number 2022-13. The applicant owner is requesting a rezoning of the property located at 2101 Vilas and a portion of the property located at 20013 Vilas from R125, which is low density single family residential, to R19 medium density single family residential. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the first 3 items that you mentioned are all related. The rezoning and then the preliminary and final plat are all part of this package. So you'll have to vote on each of them separately, but we'll just kind of have one discussion since it's all one project. So as you said, this is a request for a rezoning of the property of 2101 Vilas and a portion of 2013 Vilas from R125 to R19. The property, the parcel to the west is the 2101, and then to the east is the portion of 2013. This is kind of that R-shaped lot. It's all one, and that would be kind of split with the proposed plat that's part of this. So the parcels, again, are on the south side of Vilas between 20th and 22nd Streets and are currently vacant. The size of the total property is 4.5 acres, and it is just to the west of Henry Leavenworth. So this rezoning is being requested in order to allow for the development of 6 single-family lots. All 6 of the proposed lots are approximately 3/4 of an acre in size. Between 20th and 22nd Streets, there's a total of 18 existing lots with frontage on Vilas Street. Of those 18 lots, there are a total of 8 lots that are smaller than the 6 that are proposed as part of this, with the smallest being 0.35 acres in size. So these proposed lots are roughly average, kind of in the middle of the size that's out there already. And let me get up to the plat so you can see. So this is the proposed subdivision of it, just 6 equal size lots right there lined up along Vilas Street. The Development Review Committee did review this project at the May 12th meeting and discussed items related to improvements to Vilas Street, additional dedication of right-of-way, utilities, sidewalks, and stormwater. All of those discussed items will need to be addressed prior to the issuance of any building permits on these lots should the project be approved. So since this is a rezoning request, we'll go through the conditions of determination. Whenever the Planning Commission or City Commission takes an action, we have a number of items that we need to consider, so I'll just go through each of those individually. The first is the character of the neighborhood. The subject property is vacant and is surrounded by single-family residential development. To the east is Henry Leavenworth Elementary School, and to the west is a traditional single-family residential neighborhood. The next is the zoning and use of properties nearby. Let me turn on the zoning layer here. So we can see that. So all of the immediately surrounding properties are also zoned R125, low density single family residential. The property that has Henry Leavenworth Elementary to the east, as well as the residential lots on the north side of Vilas, out closer to 20th Street, are zoned R19, which is medium density single family, which is what's being requested here. And then the single-family neighborhood to the west is zoned planned unit development. Okay, the next is the suitability of the subject property for the uses to which it's been restricted. The subject property is again currently zoned R125, low-density single-family residential, which is typical of agricultural and large lot residential uses inside the city. Property is vacant and is surrounded by single-family residential uses on varying size lots, but it may be suitable for a variety of residential uses. The next is the extent to which removal of the restrictions will detrimentally affect nearby property. The proposed rezoning should not have a detrimental effect on nearby property. The proposed 6 residential lots are consistent with the scale of development in the area and will not introduce a significant increase in traffic to the roads. The associated final plat dedicates additional right-of-way for Vilas that would accommodate any future roadway improvements. The next is the length of time the subject property has remained vacant as zoned, and this property has always been vacant and in an agricultural use. The next is the relative gain to economic development, public health, safety, and welfare by the reduction of the value of the landowner's property as compared to the hardship imposed by such reduction upon the individual landowner. The proposed rezoning would have a positive effect on the economic vitality of Leavenworth by allowing for the additional development of residential lots. The next is the recommendation of permanent or professional staff. Staff does recommend approval of the request. The next is the conformance of the requested change to the adopted or recognized comprehensive land use plan being utilized by the city. And I'll get this layer on for you. So the area is identified as appropriate for conservation and open space on the future land use plan. The comprehensive plan does state that in regard to the conservation open space category, that conservation areas balance the protection of sensitive environmental features with the development rights of property owners. Areas of conservation are appropriate in areas containing steep slopes, woodlands, drainage corridors, or other valued natural features. And the size of the proposed lots will allow for homes to be situated while preserving open space and natural features on this land that's there. And the comprehensive plan also identifies infill residential development that is appropriate to the character of the neighborhood as being a strategy to accomplish the goal of promoting growth and development that is sustainable, responsible, and that meets the needs of future generations. And so this proposed infill development does meet that strategy that's outlined in the comprehensive plan. And then the final factor is just any other factors that may be relevant to a particular proposed amendment. And there are no other factors of note. So after we published the required notice to properties within 200 feet, which is required by Kansas statute, we received a couple of inquiries about just what the exact nature of the proposal was. I think a lot of homeowners remember a couple of years ago there was a proposal to rezone this to a multifamily development. And so we had a couple of questions about what was being proposed this time. And we explained that it was a single family development, and so we didn't receive any objections from the folks that contacted us at that time. So at that time, we've got the owner here, Jeremy Greenemeyer, and I can answer any questions for you as well.
Thank you. Let me start with commissioners. Based on all the economic factors that Julie's taken us through, does any commissioner have any further question to ask her before we open up the public forum? Any questions?
I don't have any.
I do.
Okay.
Please.
I know the previous proposal was going to include an entrance to the north. Is that planned this time?
An entrance?
Into this development from Vilas instead of just on Limit?
No. So all of these lots front on Viola Street, so there's no road that's being proposed as part of this. All 6 lots will have just direct driveway access onto Vilas.
Okay. It says that there's curbed gutters on that area.
On further to the east on Vilas, but as we talked about with the owner at the Development Review Committee, there will be future improvements required to Vilas. So the additional right of way that's being proposed as part of this or required would accommodate future improvements.
But that wouldn't be part of this plan?
I don't believe the Public Works Department felt that it was necessary to require the improvements at this time with just the 6 lots being introduced.
Okay. And in the previous agenda when this was discussed, the police had a comment just about traffic and all of that. Did they not have the same comment this time?
They did not.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for right now.
Any other commissioner?
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to open this up to public forum discussion for anyone concerned to have.
I would maybe let the applicant
Yeah,
go
I
ahead
would
and
like
speak,
to
yeah.
start with the Greenemeyer representation. Please, sir, if you come up to the podium, introduce yourself. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, thank you.
All right. Good evening, Jeremy Greenemeyer with Greenemeyer Rentals, 2500 South 2nd Street, Leavenworth. So, yeah, Julie, thank you. Julie presented most of the stuff that I wanted to cover myself. There was one thing, Mr. Stevens, to answer your question. There was a discussion about a road impact fee. So we are dedicating, I believe it's 20 feet of right-of-way for the future expansion of the road. And Julie, there was a discussion of street impact fee. Do you remember what the specifics of that was?
With Public Works?
Yes.
I do not.
Okay. Anyway, I don't want to speak out of turn, but it was, known that at some point, I think it was at the time of permit, they would address the curb and gutter. And I forget if that was us putting in the road or us at least paying a impact fee, for whenever it happens.
Yeah, I know, yeah, Public Works had sort of covered that and
Yep.
felt comfortable that that could be addressed at the time that any building permits come in.
Okay.
So that permits would not be issued until the road items were addressed satisfactorily.
Yeah, and I believe that's just on a lineal foot basis. The other requirement that we're gonna have, to develop these lots is the extension of, sewer. Cause currently, if you don't mind me moving over here.
Yeah, please.
Currently there's sewer, or actually, I guess Julie can,
Yeah, I can get it
currently
turned
sewer stops here. So the only way to serve any of this is to pull sewer probably up one of these property lines and then kind of, branch off to hit each of these. The other requirement of sewer extension in the city is we can't just go to your lot, we actually have to go all the way up to Lemon Street to accommodate the sewer service for the ones across the street. We don't have to pay to connect to them, but we have to get to the point on our lot that would allow them to connect to it. So this project is also gonna open up sewer connection for basically anyone on the north side of the street. Julie, is that fair?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Wait. Am I looking? Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so sewer is here on this street.
Yep, so that's the green line.
Yes.
Sorry,
Yeah,
it's
and
the
it leaves
sewer.
stops, so it looks like really no one up here has sewer.
Yeah, those would all be on septic, and so Jeremy's correct. So our Public Works requirements that if he has to hook up his property, the lots to sewer, and again, instead of just bringing that up to the south end of those lots, that has to be extended all the way through those lots, so that potential future development at some point in the future
Okay.
could tap into that instead of having to pay to bring it all the way up
So we'll go all the way into the street?
to the end of the lots.
In the lots, yeah.
Okay.
Kind of going back in time, I forget if it was 2 or 3 years ago when we did the other rezoning request for the multifamily. That meeting was, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, I think. We took the people's comments back and reworked the plan. And some of the comments that I remember hearing the most were the issue with Limit Street not being very straight, very flat, and really no curbs, which is why you don't see any requests to rezone that right now. So really, there's no impact to the zoning on Limit Street. And then for Viola Street, once we thought the best way to handle that was to wait until the parking got added at the school to take a lot of the on-street waiting, or I guess the extended pickup line, make that less of a concern. And in talking with Commissioner Kitchens, he didn't seem to have any issues with that either. The other thing that I would point out is on the zoning of the rest of the folks between 20th Street and 22nd Street, Julie had pulled up the zoning map, and I think I've got another map if it's okay if I hand out. And if there's any folks in the audience who'd like to see this as well, just so you've got a copy of. If anyone wants to see this. I've got 5 or 6 there. This is just an indication of the rest of the lots on here that on Julie's zoning, because we kind of stick out like our zoning is considerably different. The ones that I've highlighted are ones that are non-conforming, and if they were zoned correctly, would fall under the same zoning we're requesting. So that's all I have. Take any questions or I can.
Yeah, I'll start with you. We've got all the economic factors that Julie discussed, and I think it's important for anyone here, and we're going to be hearing for anyone here after Jeremy's done with Greenemeyer, is that it's always been a vacant lot, and something's going to happen to that sooner or later. This gives the appearance of a win-win, but we need to hear from anyone in a few minutes of any concern you have on that one. It's going to be 6 family lots, 3/4 lots with 6 family homes going in there. So I kind of like that. If I've gone out there to look at that by this location. I take it roughly the cost of those 6 family lots of the homes you're building there will be, what would the price range roughly?
Yeah, we're not, at this time, we're not building anything. This is a rezoning and gonna have some lots for sale.
But you have plans to put 6 family, it'd be zoned in for 6 family lots.
There will be zoned
approved
for 6 family lots, correct.
All I was trying to get to is whatever's built in there by Greenemeyer in the future would probably be in harmony with the neighborhood to not impact any, is that true?
I mean, you've gotta build something that people wanna buy.
Well,
I
understand.
Yeah.
So they are gonna be saleable?
Well,
not rental.
Future.
Our plan is to, we have no immediate plans to build anything. This is a way to, we think, put the land in a better situation to make something happen.
Okay, we're just rezoning that to put you in a position you want to be in future development for these lots.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, I've got that one.
Yeah, and-
So, does any commissioner have any questions for Jeremy, on Greenemeyer, on Greenemeyer?
The only question I had, you don't know whether they're gonna be, you're gonna sell the single-family homes or rent them, correct?
I have no interest in renting a single family home. We own almost none, so.
That's why.
If they go single family, it's gonna be an owner occupant, or it's gonna be someone else renting it, but not me.
Okay, thank you.
So that's what I was trying to get to, is that this is approving the ability for them with the rezoning request to put in 6 family lots, 3/4 acre lots in that location in Vitus, is what it's doing. Okay. Does any other commissioner have any question for him?
I do.
Okay, please, sir.
So on Vilas, using the map you
Yeah.
provided, just on the northeast corner of that property, on the other side of that of Vilas, there's a huge ditch, or I mean it's at least 4 or 5 feet deep. Do you think that construction vehicles would be able to navigate that road with the folks to be able to start construction? I know you don't have plans,
Yeah,
but do you, in your assessment, in your contractor's assessment, that road would be able to hold up to that?
Are you talking about the road?
Yes,
I have no idea. It's a city road.
I understand
Yeah.
that, yes.
I
But
mean-
if you're planning on building something, you wanna make sure that you can get your equipment in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I understand that. My assumption is if something gets broken in the duration of construction, it'll be required to be repaired. So
Yeah, and this road, Vilas, would have been accommodating any construction traffic for the neighborhood to the west when that was built a number of years ago, so
Okay,
our Public Works Department didn't express any concerns
Sure.
about what you're
Well,
worried about.
you good?
yep,
Okay, thanks.
And then I
Mike.
will just, kind of state for the record that, zoning regulations have nothing to do with rental versus, owner occupied. That's not something that zoning legally can address, so it's the use is single family, rental versus ownership does not come into play with any sort of zoning.
Okay, good.
Does that also include like Airbnb and those type of vacation
That's
rental?
another issue.
Yeah, that's a whole separate issue,
use.
and we have provisions in the development regulations, for special use permits for those types of uses.
Cool, thanks.
We good? Commissioners, good?
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Greenemeyer.
Yep.
Now I need to pull you back, but thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
At this time, we are in open forum, so at this time, I would like anyone who's here that has any, come to the podium, to have any concern with the development of this area, what we're looking at, to please come to the podium, tell us your name and any concern you have on this request. Thank you, sir.
My name is Jerry Heinzelman. I live at 2089 Limit Street. And my biggest concern is stormwater runoff. This creek between across the street from me, there's both of them that run down both sides of my property. The school's just putting in a new parking lot, which will cause more water runoff in that main creek. They have a retention pond up there, but I don't know if it's gonna accommodate it all. So that's the creek to the east. The creek to the west, it floods pretty deep. I actually have some pictures if you wanna see of a time when it was about 10 years ago. And that was before they redid the thing at 22nd Street over there, where they redid the ditch there. Since then, it's been worse. I used to be able to mow the creek between my house and Kevin Baker's, at least in July and August. I haven't been able to mow it for 2 years because it's just swampy all the time, from all the water runoff coming down the hill. So if you put 6 more houses up there, you're gonna have all their driveway runoff. And, it's gonna be a lot more sheeting and it's gonna be more runoff. And that's gonna head towards, the large 2-story house and then down that creek there towards my house. And, these are just some pictures if you wanna see them of, when like between me and Kevin Baker's house, there's several pictures. And if you look at this one, the culvert's only running about halfway deep on the road, half to 2/3 maybe. But if you look at, there's a couple of them where you get to like where you see my windmill in the backyard. That's, in the stand-up there, the creek is flooded there. And I got a post that's about 3 foot tall and a culvert in my backyard. And that's over the top of that 3-foot post. So,
If you don't mind, can you point to your property on that map?
Yeah.
okay, I'm at 2089 Limit.
So limit is at the
Yeah,
bottom?
I'm right here.
Okay.
And
And,
Mr. Baker's over here.
okay.
And the creek comes,
Thanks.
yeah, this is the creek right here. It comes right here. And it runs right along here, and then it comes over here, and this creek joins with it on my property.
Okay.
So these 2 creeks join together right down here at the bottom. So another question I have for the city, and I tried to get a response about it a while back, but I didn't. When I built my house 20 years ago, they required 220 feet of frontage. And I have 11 acres there, and I can only have 3 lots, they told me eventually, build on 3 lots. Now, I don't know how he came up with R125 now over there.
Right.
Because when mine was, they required 220 feet of frontage before I could build it. And I had to annex into the city, and I was an island out here. So this has been annexed into the city since then. And I don't know how they come up with R125 at that point. I'll try to get back to the podium so you can hear me. But my biggest concern is stormwater runoff. Like I said, you can see the flooding in those pictures, and it's been worse than that. That was just one time my wife saw it during the day and took a picture of it.
Do you know the date of those photos?
It was like 2009, I think she said. But, it's been 10 years, you know, or 11, 12 years, whatever. But, so anyhow, that's my biggest concern. You know, even if you didn't rezone, he could still build 5 houses across there. So what is it, you know, advantage is one more house, if you're saying he's got an R125 right now. And my biggest concern is, you know, what he's gonna be made to do for stormwater runoff. Because if he doesn't do it now, it probably won't get done. Because when they do the other part, you know, the water's gonna be running there more, so I don't know what he has planned for the other half. You know, I have no idea. But anyhow, it's gonna keep running off. And like, when I first bought my property, I thought about doing a subdivision at one time, and they told me that I had to do a subdivision if I wanted to build more than 3 houses. So, and then that was just way out of my price, and I didn't really want to do it anyway, but I just wanted to know my options later in life. So, so anyhow, that's my biggest concerns.
Thank you.
And, you know, what is gonna be done on the other half whenever it gets to that point.
Let me address that issue before I even consider bringing Mr. Greener back up. This request is a rezoning request.
Right.
And as Mr. Greener's made us aware, it allows them to develop these houses in the future. So please, Julie, if I say this right, this issue is there's an existing problem that exists now, is that you made us aware of. I got it, pictures you made us aware of.
And it's gonna make it worse.
Yeah, I understand that one. And so the issue is with that is that impact, that could have impact with the houses being built there now. They're gonna have to address this issue, which I consider that, Julie, under the issue of public works. And not the issue of the Greenemeyer, if they develop that, there's a water problem, they will have to address that issue if they're building there. But we have a public works issue presently.
Yeah, so that's correct, and in the notes that we included in the packet from the Development Review Committee, one of the notes from the Public Works Director does address stormwater quality and quantity. And at the time of building permit, they will be required to submit a stormwater quality and quantity plan for these lots. And when lots are developed and graded and any dirt starts moving, they're required to present a plan to show that the lot has been engineered and will be graded so that there will not be any additional runoff coming from that property to any other property.
Now, we can make no guarantees, sir, on what you're saying, but the issue is with what Mr. Greenemeyer, they're doing may help alleviate this problem with development in the area, but it's a public works issue. But we're sensitive to your issue of water there, what you presently have now, and impact in the future. I've got that, what you're saying to us on water runoff. Okay.
Right, so when I was told, like, when I
I
talked
need you to
about,
come back to the microphone.
Good.
whenever I talked about developing mine at one point,
Right,
I was told I would have to put storm drainage system in.
right.
So would he have to do that? Would that be, and where's it gonna go to? Onto my property? Are they gonna run it around the creek behind my house? Or what's their idea? I tried talking to the engineer and, he was supposed to call me back. That was before the meeting was scheduled in July and never did. And I stopped by there at lunch one day and he was gone, so I never got back with him. But, anyhow, he never called me back.
How are those plans shared?
Shared with,
When the developer puts in those plans for the stormwater, when they do
they're
the
reviewed
permit?
and approved by Public Works Department.
Okay.
Well, let me get back to, Jeremy, can I get you back, sir, to put in your Smith to ask you a question so everyone can get us on record, please, sir?
Yeah.
So we know that what we're doing is just the rezoning for the future development of potentially sometime in the near future of 6 single-family homes. I got that part of it. And so when that develops, knowing that there may be existing water flow problems in that one, then I would take it that the Greenemeyer Company would coordinate that with Public Works to take a look at the existing problem when you develop that and built that. And any required corrective action would be done at that time to coordinate with that. Can I say it that way?
I mean, that's fair to say. I will also add that we had, after this conversation with, at the Development Review Committee, it was suggested that we work with our engineer to provide a drainage report, which we did have produced. Maybe it hasn't been, I mean, it probably wasn't submitted to this body, but it was produced. I mean, I'm looking at a copy of it on my phone right now.
Right.
If I recall, I mean, it's a pretty lengthy
Yes, sir.
report, as you can imagine.
Right.
I remember in my conversations with our engineer that they thought that they could keep all the drainage on site, and because of the depth of the lots, because we're ultimately gonna end up with 6 lots that are effectively about 110 wide by 300 feet deep. Obviously, most of the house is gonna be pushed way up towards Lemon Street. Their calculations were that any water that runs off of the roof, the driveway, or any other hard surfaces would end up being captured and basically absorbed into the 200 feet between the back of the house and the lot line.
Okay.
Just as a summary.
I got.
But there's, I mean, like I said, I do
That's
have a report
Sure.
backing that up.
Okay, thank you, sir, thank you.
And as
Right.
with any development, a developer is
Right.
not required to correct
Sure,
problems outside of their property, they just can't make them worse.
got it.
So,
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
But
sir, thank you.
items
Oh,
like
excuse
that
me.
can be included in the plat, correct?
like what?
Improvement of the road, or just a agreement that this would be done as part of the plat, because that wouldn't be a building, or a permit. But if like what was recommended by the public, or by engineering, that it should be included, half the street, should be included in the plat.
Yeah, so that additional right of way is included with this plat, but something like requirement for a stormwater plan would not be part of a recorded plat.
Okay, but the road size would be,
Yeah, that additional right of way is being dedicated as part of this plat.
it would be developed as part of this?
Not necessarily built,
Okay.
but that right of way is just being placed there.
Okay, thank you.
We okay? Thank you, thank you. But the zoning request that we're dealing with at this moment is not dependent on the water issue that exists now. It's a separate issue. Can I say it that way? It's not an issue that we're dealing with. We're sensitive to the understanding what's going on with the water, but it's not part of the rezoning that the planning commission is going to vote on to the city commissioners. Okay, I'm now still in open forum on this first one with this Vilas and what we're doing, request rezoning. Is anyone here would like to come up and address that issue? Please, okay, thank you, sir.
Good evening, my name's Chris Howell, I live at 2115 Vilas, so the property just to the west of Worth Lane. I just have some questions really, so it's currently R125 zone, correct? Which is low density, single family homes? What is the difference between that and the R9 in terms of what would be developed if it remained R125?
So an R125 zoning district has a minimum front lot width of, I believe it's 90 feet. R19 has a minimum lot width of 75 feet. There's different lot size, minimum lot size requirements. I believe for R19 it's 9,000 square feet. I'm not sure off the top of my head what it is for R125, but those are really the main differences that require lot frontage and the minimum required lot size.
So we're essentially looking at a difference of 5 homes versus 6 homes as it's currently zoned versus what it would be zoned. Is that
Yeah, and
fair
I'm not
assessment
sure
on
what
that?
they could divide it up into being R125. I don't know if you'd figured that out, Jeremy, but yeah, going to R19 allows for more lots to be on the space.
That's just one question. What is the physical difference between one to the other in terms of development and local impact on the area, given the road frontage? So simple math, I just don't know what it is. The other one is Greenmeyer is essentially a rental company. And the question I do have is being immediately adjacent to this is permanent development for homes that are being sold to somebody versus rented. There is a different quality of care with that, and I plan on living here for as long as I can. That concerns me being immediately adjacent to that property.
And unfortunately, as a board, we're only looking at the
Right.
at the zoning of these properties, and that'll just be a question at a later time of what gets put up there.
Understood. And then next question with that, and it was brought up by Jerry earlier, the section just to the south, if we're rezoning the north to R9 and we're trying to figure out the actual impact on that. What is the future plan for the south? Because I don't think taking these two in isolation is probably the right way to look at long-term zoning development, but anticipating what the southern portion would eventually be for then the long-term impact, not just taking bite-sized pieces out of this now and changing it. So what is the future plan for that?
We would have to deal with that when it came up for its potential use to see if it's in harmony, in my opinion, what you're asking me, with the neighborhood going through the economic impact factors that Julie covered with to start with, whether we as a planning commission see that as a win-win, greater good for what you just asked me, or we see that in harmony, it would not be, it would be in conflict. And therefore, the planning commission may look at that and turn it down, even though it could be, they could appeal it to the city commissioners on it.
Yes, sir.
We would have to deal with that at that moment to see if it fits. Can I say it that way, Carl? You like
Makes
that,
sense, sir.
if it fits.
It's just looking at the
No, it's a
pieces,
good
there's a
point
concern.
on future. I
Yes,
understand
sir.
your point there on future application and impact to you. It's a good question. We
Understood.
can't deal with that with the unknown.
Yes, sir. And limit and violence have two different impacts too, given the street. But there is a 5 to 6 minor impact on the north.
Right.
5 to 6 on the north with 5 to 6 or additional ones on the south. There's an impact there. That street there is significantly more constrained. And walking on that street right now is a dangerous endeavor. Concerns for that. It does not have the sidewalk nor the development capabilities as the one on the north. So the ripple effect is my only concern. And again, I look at this property literally every day. So, and I'm very, very familiar with it. And then the final bit, and I'll back up Jerry with the hydrology aspect and the flow of the land. It does flow from generally northeast to southwest. I get that. I have water that hits my property immediately coming from it. I understand it's single-family homes with the impact of single-family homes. It's not a parking lot. It's not the other bits. But just assessing that impact and knowing there is one there. When it rains now, I do get standing water on the north side of my property, north of my home. And then it flows down, following the natural flow of the land. Concern would be anything that interrupts a natural flow. I try to pull up the hydrology layer on it. Yeah, there you go, on my phone. But if you see the actual lines, the contour interval lines there, it's very clear where they do go and where they develop. And concern of that too is not just to the south, as you follow that when it comes out, and then a floodplain moves from northeast to southwest from that land as well. I do have some initial concern of the runoff that would come to the north side of my property. So I don't have any photographic. I got a lot of wet feet from it, though, I can tell you that. So that's all I have for the.
Well, Colonel, thank you for your concern. They're valid. We understand that. We can't pinpoint and hold to make Greenmeyer sign in blood their future intent with that. I'd like to. We can't do that. That's not part of who we are. The issue with water and stormwater runoff is a valid issue. That's present. We've addressed that issue, and it's a valid issue. We can't deal with that one, but it's a public works issue of movement, of water flow and containment, or better direction or something. It's another issue. But it's, we've heard your concern. It's valid on that one.
And then,
Does any other commissioner have any concern or other questions or response to what the Colonel addressed at this time?
Thank you, sir.
Colonel, thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. We're still in open forum on this issue with this area.
Everett Rogers, 1206 Joshua Court, Lansing, Kansas, but I'm also the property owner of 2103 Limit, which is lower left-hand corner of this picture. Couple of things, I just wanted to address some things the Colonel asked about, because I looked up the zoning stuff on the website. This is Leavenworth, Kansas revised 2021, so it should be pretty good. Frontage for R125 is 160 feet, so that means they could get 4 properties in there versus 6. And so that's what I just did that quick. Other thing I wanted to talk about on this is that the question I have is, are we going to address plating separately from this zoning? Because they're listed on the agenda as separate items.
Yes, it'll be a separate vote.
Okay,
And,
so
yeah, it can be.
if I don't have a problem with him rezoning, then I should sit down and come back later.
Well, so plats are not a public hearing.
Okay.
And so any concerns, you
Bring
would
up the
want to
plating
address
then now,
now.
right?
So The planning commission will address the plats separately, but they do not require a public hearing, for input.
Okay, so there will be no discussion on what happens to the south side at this point?
That's not part of the plat request. Are you talking about the portion that fronts on Limit Street?
Yes.
Yeah, that's not part of the plat request.
Okay, so it's
Or
gonna
the
stay
rezoning
125,
request.
the zoning right now, and there's no plating for it right now.
Not the portion that fronts on Limit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir, thank you, sir.
Good evening, I'm Kevin Baker, I'm at 2101 Limit Street there. Can I walk up to the board there? I have one big question, and that is, and I know Greenmeyer does good work and everything, but why are we talking about rezoning this area when the biggest problem is the street everybody's had problems on? In order for him, the only reason why he wants to rezone this is because he wants to add more houses and cars to this property over here, whether he does it or somebody else does it. But the biggest problem we have is Violet Street will not carry all the cars and traffic and stuff that it has now. Nobody's updated this street, nobody's even talked about updating this street. And in order to rezone this and make more traffic come this way, I think it's crazy. And the biggest problem I have with is, if, say they did rezone it, he gets the platting, they start construction. Construction, concrete trucks, all kind of heavy equipment comes running up and down the street. Somehow this street gets damaged. So they gotta shut the street off, and guess where all the traffic comes? It's gonna come right down this Limit Street. So now we've got an even bigger problem. I don't know how many houses are sitting back in the subdivision over here, but all that traffic's gotta come in and go out one way or the other. Two roads. Yeah, it's got two roads. If one of these roads gets shut down, we got a flood and we got a problem. Now adding, whether it's 4 houses, 6 houses, or whatever, you take that times 2 to 3 cars per house, you add more to the load over here. So our problem is not with Jeremy Greenmeyer, don't get me wrong, but the problem, the biggest problem I see is Vilas. Vilas needs to be updated. It needs to have drains put on it. It needs curb and guttering. We got schools going over here. We got all kinds of problems here, but nobody wants to fix those. They just want to add to them. So if we could please just look at that before we rezone something, because the only reason why we're going to rezone this is to add more to the problem, which we don't need. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Before you step down, does any commissioner have any concern on what we're hearing on the heavy equipment, the cars? That was a good point, 6 helms times 2 cars and Vitus, we know where the location is. Any other commissioner have any questions on that one?
Well, even, I kind of agree with Kevin, even if it's 3 cars, even if it's 4 lots, and you have 2 to 3 cars, that's going to increase, and if you build on those, so, I know, like you said, it's a public works deal, so how do we get the public works involved is what you're really looking at, Kevin?
Yeah.
Because as we've said, it's really not part of our situation, and I hate to use an old adage, we feel your pain, but I know exactly what you're, because as you know, I live farther east on Violet. So,
I also want to make a comment though about one of my favorite words is greater good, economic impact, tax base, but there's safety issues besides the one. Before I say the city get more tax money, I don't want to say that first. I want to go economic impact and the greater good or better use of the property. It will be developed for something sooner or later.
Yes.
So the issue is economic, the impact to the area is a greater win than adding more problems to the existing area. I can't make any promises, but it appears like when Greenmeyer or people develop stuff, they have to work with Public Works, they have to work with the city, and they have to orchestrate that to improve things, hopefully, I want to say that word to you, hopefully, when problems exist and they have to deal with stormwater, and they have to deal with runoff, they have to deal with curbing and traffic flow. So what we're doing is rezoning something to allow them, the Greenmeyer Company, to put these 5 or 6 homes there, which could result, if it's orchestrated properly, to help alleviate some of these problems when Public Works gets involved with it. Can't make any promises on
Yeah,
that one, you know
yeah.
what I'm saying, I'm
Yeah.
not promising you anything on that one.
Well, yeah, but
the
you can
issue has
see
been-
right now
It
that-
elevates the area, to take a hard look at what's going on, to orchestrate that with what they're planning on doing.
Correct.
And they've got a track history and the reputation, Greenmeyer, for a long, long time, to work with the city to coordinate that, to make things, to improve it. They're not gonna wanna go in there and have a problem putting
No.
homes in there with that. That makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me.
No, but nobody's brought that
I
up.
understand that.
And so that leaves us with the same old street,
I got
but
it.
more problems.
And you got a valid issue there with impact and traffic, but, again, there's worse things that could go in there. There are a lot more than 5 or 6 homes, 2 cars that have greater impact than that. But valid point. Commissioners, comment.
I do have a comment in, because it's very difficult for us to go to that speculation
Right.
point, and we can't predict the future, and it is a rezoning, and that's what we have to be focused on. But I'm always wondering, what you as a community, what would you do with that property that's just laying vacant? Because we did hear this a couple of years ago, and there was some serious impacts that we looked at it, and we held off on that. But I always wonder, what would you do with this property if it were yours and wanting to rezone that?
I would think that he would, what he's doing is great. Except for, we're bypassing steps before we make the greatness, okay? And that's where the problem comes in at, is that bypass part. Well, we'll just put 6 more houses over here, let them fight it out. They'll figure it out someplace. That's the problem. We need to stop. I mean, they built the school down the street, and let's worry about the traffic later. And now look at the problems they had with that. I mean, you don't build Walmart and put in 4 parking spaces for Walmart. And that's what's been happening in this area. Just throw it in and let them worry about it later. So, and that's what we've been doing all along here. That's why all these people are in here complaining.
Well, you're bringing up an issue to me, and I want to use my chicken or egg concept to you, is that what comes first? You do all public works, you make sure the storm is right, you put in the curbing, you make sure everything's done properly, and then you say, now we're ready to proceed to phase 2, because we've now done all that. And I understand your frustration and concern, because I've seen that too, is that we have a tendency to approve some zoning, people that can then modify, change, build things, but the other stuff wasn't done first.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying on that, but we and the planning commission are looking at a rezoning request.
Correct.
And we have to focus on that rezoning request, not knowing the outcome of that, and hopefully when that it's done with Greenmeyer and that what your plans are, again, I want to fall back to what I've said before, it's going to require some serious orchestration, coordination with Public Works to do whatever their intent is when they get that rezoning request, to put that in and to make the modifications, changes as needed. And hopefully, that would be an improvement to where you're at.
But you just said the word, hopefully.
I gotta say the word hopefully.
We all know, do it right the first time, and you don't have to do it again.
Right.
We all know that.
I got it.
Can I say,
Please, on that, go ahead on that. Right.
so I hear what you're saying, Mr. Baker, and this is the planning committee, and I hear you're saying, let's have plans before we do things and make sure that it impacts the right way, that we're not against.
Please, yes.
In the city, we should not be against growth.
No.
But we should be planful. And the fact of the matter, correct me if I'm wrong, when the public use development was put in here, there was an opportunity to run sewer lines. And these folks are not on sewer, correct? Based on that are in this area.
They would have to connect.
These 2 lots that are part of the rezoning request that are proposed to be subdivided into 6 lots will be required to connect to sewer. The planned unit development to the west is all sewered.
And so how did it jump over the folks? See, this is what I'm hearing is let's, if we approve this, then
Yeah,
without
this-
any plans, this has happened to that community before, that they say, hey, we're gonna run sewer lines and then just kind of skip over people that are there, so I get the apprehension.
So is the question about the sewer, I mean, the sewer came down limit, and I mean, you can see the sewer is the green
Sure.
line. Let it catch up.
Came from the fire station over to that subdivision, and I paid for a sewer main extension from that main in my backyard to this Limit Street. And then they put it from Limit Street up to the school.
You had to pay for the connection.
I had to pay for the trenching all the way. Me and the neighbor that owned the barns at the time, I bought from him.
I want to make certain that when we have open discussion, that we're controlling that with the podium, please, sir. Thank you. I appreciate the comment. Again, I want to focus on the planning commission's role and what we're dealing with that we're dealing with the rezoning only.
Yeah,
We're
so
we
these
can-
lots are
yeah.
required to conform
Yeah.
with our,
Yes.
if I could get
Right.
everybody to hold off
Oh,
on the background
Quiet,
discussions.
quiet, please.
So the lots that are a part of this proposal are required to meet all of the city's current standards. I can't speak to what standards were 15
sure.
years ago,
20
or how those utilities were put in.
Sure.
The lots that are proposed to be developed are required to connect to utilities. And as has been mentioned, the sewer and water is required to connect all the way through that lot for potential development beyond that. Aside from that, it's not required to connect other lots that are not part of this. It's just sort of required to provide that connection should other development want to connect to it. So if the question is about utilities, that's that. And again, I'm not sure, how that determination was made with utilities in the past when the subdivision to the west was
Fair.
put in.
I want to get back to the planning commission and our role, correct me wrong, Judge, is that we cannot impose and tell people, you can do something after you do this first. This is, you're bringing up valid issues that are beyond the scope of the planning commission, what we're dealing with at this moment with the rezoning request. Your validation of stormwater and everything else, got it. But I mean, we just can't deal with that one. We're looking at, what are we gonna do with this property? And are we gonna approve it to allow the Greenmeyer Company to put in possibly these 5 or 6 single-family homes, knowing that they're gonna have to deal with issues when they develop it? They're not saying when to develop it, this gives them authority to develop it and put in future stuff.
And
Can I deal with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I understand it.
But now you are, by rezoning this, you are part of the problem.
Right.
You're part of the problem because you rezone something and the next step is to get its plat and take off with the work.
Right.
But we still haven't got the problem fixed, which is the street. So that's what I'm asking.
I understand that, I wanna jump in, sir, but I understand what you're saying about this problem. You have an existing water storm problem now regardless of Greenmeyer
Correct.
taking it.
Yes.
Regardless of what they do, you still have a water problem.
Yes.
Stormwater. Okay,
Yes.
regardless of if they take it over. So all I'm saying is we can't make any promises, but at the same time, the rezoning request gives them authority to develop, change, alter, and I've gotta fall back, I know I said it 3 times, to alter, coordinate with Public Works, orchestrate that, to hopefully improve an existing problem that exists with stormwater and runoff. I got it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got it.
yeah.
But we can't deal with that one. We can't impose that. I'm saying, we will approve your rezone request if you do this first. It's beyond their scope and it requires city involvement.
I think we all understand
Okay.
that.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I mean, I noticed that the other 2 housing developments, the one to the west on Vilas and the one to the south of the high school are PUDs, right? Planned unit developments.
Yes.
Okay. Does that require anything different than zoning 1 through 9? Single family. If you have a PUD, then doesn't everything have to be approved plans?
No, so usually what a developer will do a PUD for is for differences in lot sizes and lot frontages. It has nothing to do with, it wouldn't remove utility requirements
No, but
or
it has to
street
do with
improvements
streets,
or.
doesn't it?
Yeah, so they all have to put into the streets, and so,
He's
one
correct.
thing I will say, when a development comes in, one of the things city staff, Public Works, all of us look at, in terms of road improvements, a developer is only required to do what's right in front of their property. So that was a point of discussion with the Public Works Department, what's the best solution here? Do we require the developer to improve this section of Islas? Do we require them to dedicate additional right-of-way? What do we do? So if the requirement were to the developer to improve the section of Vilas in front of their property, it would be this section of road. There would be no continuity, there would be no connectivity, it would just be that section. So that's not really gonna improve any sort of situation.
But it
So
helps.
that was the determination of the Public Works Department to, at this point, get that additional right-of-way so that we have it. You know, there's gonna be additional right-of-way needed to the east and to the west to do any eventual improvements to the roadway as a whole. And so that was the determination of the Public Works Department as the best solution for this property.
We good, thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for your concern. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Janice Baker, 2101 Limit Street. So I guess my question is, everybody's coming forward with their concerns. Why would we even rezone it instead of leaving it 4 lots? As 4 lots, we're gonna have less runoff. I'm hearing that the street would need to be improved, whether it's 4 or 6 lots. I'm gonna tell you that if you drive out there, the majority of us sit on acreage. Making these smaller frontage lots is gonna look odd out in that area. It's not gonna be welcoming in an area where I sat on 11 acres, or 7 acres. Jerry, you sat on 11. Everett, you sat on? 9.8. We're all surrounding the area. Why would we rezone? We have a known problem. We've lived there 23 years, and for 23 years, we've flooded. And I actually have flood insurance on my home. Why would we reduce the size of those lots and make more runoff? And not have a plan? And that street is horrible, and Limit is worse.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I need to, Jeremy, can I have you back podium, sir? Yeah. Please come back, sir. We need to understand something with Greenemar, and that is you've looked at this site for potential future conversion, and at this present time, with rezoning at the time that Greenemar is looking at the consideration to put 6 single-family homes in there. But that's subject to change after you look at the total situation. I mean, you're not locking and loading and telling us at this moment you're gonna put 6 single-family, 3/4 acre lots in there, are you?
No.
That's what I wanna hear. At this moment, this zoning gives you the request, the modified, change, alter, put in there whatever is suitable with that rezoning request. And what goes in there is still up in the air, what is gonna be a good fit for you with what you're dealing with, correct?
So should the rezoning be approved?
Yes.
And then the subsequent plats be approved, which are for the 6 lots?
Right.
That would be recorded
Right.
with the county, and those 6 lots would be the plan. However,
Yeah.
if Mr. Greenemeyer, as the owner, decided, something can be platted and nothing be built on it for years and years. So if the owner were to decide at some point, hey, we don't really wanna do these 6 lots.
Right.
We wanna do something else that fits within the zoning district, they can come back and request a replat from the planning commission, which would be reviewed again to see, if that fits and if that makes sense.
That's what I was trying to get to right to that point, to have an existing plan of what your plan is today, what your future plans are, but they can come in and alter that. Once you assess the total situation of what's going on there, it's subject, you might change it.
How many lots can you put in?
What, is that true?
Yeah, I mean, you're accurate. What could happen is a variety of things. I could put these as, buildable lots and they could sell out in the first week. You could have someone come in and want to put one house in the middle of all of them and have their own 4.5 acre estate. I don't.
And all that
I don't
required
have
is
a
coming
crystal
back to
ball.
us rezoning request to the planning commission or commissioners. If he did that, what we're approving?
It would be most, a replat request if someone wanted to, say, buy 2 of the lots and
Right.
combine them into one, or buy 3, or buy all 4, it would be a replat, it wouldn't be a rezoning unless the owner was to want to do something that did not fit within the R19 zoning district, if that's what's approved.
You're hearing these comments about stormwater and everything else that's existing there, And I can't imagine, it's like, I'm just using an example, like, I happen to have a sump pump, well, I hope I have a backup sump pump. And if there's water there, then you have to deal with it. So if you're going in building lots and know that there's a water problem there, you would have to work with Public Works and the city to address that issue, to make sure it runs off properly and not have problems with what you're building there, correct?
Dealing with water runoff is something we've had to deal with every development I mean,
Yes, sir.
when EPA rules changed, 10 years ago, and they've been a lot more stringent
Right.
upon trying to have zero runoff is, what the goal is.
Right.
Or at least having on-site retention. So, while I'm totally sympathetic to,
Right.
to the neighbors' concerns, I don't think there's been a project that's done in Leavenworth or Lansing, or really anywhere that I'm aware of, that hasn't had to, at least on paper and an engineer, prove that it's not gonna impact downstream water.
Got it.
Now, obviously, what you show on your computer, might not always equate to real life, but
Right.
that's been our experience.
And that would require Greenemeyer to incur expense to, wherever it had to put in to fix that problem, or help it or redirect it, or working with the city to help fix that problem.
On his own property, he's not
On
required
his own-
to
on his own property.
solve problems outside of his property.
I got it
Yes.
on that problem. Okay. Did any commissioners still have any questions, and we'll ask Mr. Greenemeyer on the issue of this, what we're asking on this rezoning request and their intent there? On that one?
I do.
Okay.
Do you have plans for the land now? If this rezoning request does not go through, have you drafted anything of what you could put in this space now?
Well, I mean, we ended up here because of a similar situation where, we came in with a
Sure.
proposal 2.5, 3 years ago. This is kind of what Plan B looks like, taking into consideration people's concerns with Limit Street, which is why you don't see any
Sure.
rezoning on Limit Street. And why we waited to this point to get the parking lot done at the school. It's also my understanding that the grade levels that are now attending that school have changed.
Sure.
The number of buses that need to be there has changed, so my understanding is there should be little to no traffic actually on Violet Street. And for the folks who were here a couple years ago, I took them at their word, went out there the next day and looked at the traffic and was in total agreement that it was all the way down to 22nd Street and right around the corner. So, there was some legitimate points, last time we were in here a couple years ago.
So the decision to slice up the lots to get more lots there, what's behind that decision? How does that
It just,
benefit?
what we think is sellable and what we think makes sense here. I mean,
Okay.
we could, and I've heard people talk about, well, you could do this number of lots or that number of lots. I think if you just divided the lineal footage of what's there by a R16, R19, which is what we're requesting, you could get down to 8.8 lots across Violet Street, and obviously you can't do an eighth of a lot, so we had to drop down to, we could have been in here requesting 8 lots, we could have been in here requesting 7 lots. Our decision was to request 6 lots because we thought it made more sense. 3/4 of an acre we think is a nice size lot to allow people to build their, maybe dream home with an outbuilding or swimming pool or something that's bigger than just a standard subdivision size 1/4 acre. We like that it's walking distance to the school. We like that it's close to Fort Leavenworth and 20th Street, so we've got a pretty quick ways to get around town. And this is just a personal comment. Our rentals is on our company name. Our portfolio is like 98% multifamily and a handful of single-family houses. For a variety of reasons, we can't compete in the single-family space. Don't want to compete in the single-family space. This is land that we bought, planning to do multifamily with, not able to do it. This is Plan B as a way to kind of exit out of it and leave a decent development.
Thank you. Anyone else wise up? Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm still an open forum for anyone that wants to come in and give a voice opinion on this, please. Thank you, sir.
My name's Don Stubbings. I live at 2301 Heblin. And so what I was looking at in the conversation is when this was originally zoned R1, was it R19?
It's R125.
R125. The considerations for that were probably a lot of things we talked about today. So what improvements to the land, the streets, the sewers have made it viable to make it the medium condensed housing? Nothing. No improvements to the street, the sewer, the roads, or anything.
And we have more traffic.
No, that's what I'm saying. If the roads were like they were supposed to be, and wide enough, sidewalks, all that stuff, we wouldn't even be here today. What they didn't do is just, they made it R1, or the single family for a reason. No improvements to any of our neighborhoods to add density. That's all. No improvements. So that's a concern. If they come in tomorrow and say, we're gonna widen the road, put sidewalks in, we won't even be here. But anyways, just make a good informed decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, thank you. You bring up a good issue, and the issue is priority, and city's priority, and budget, money, and commitment are what's important. And we can't address that issue of why it does not have a higher elevation of repair of what you just addressed. But it's a valid issue, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. We're still in open forum for anyone on the issue of 2101 Vilas and 2113 Vilas. Please, sir.
Travis Denny, I live at 2610 South 22nd Terrace. My question is for Jeremy. Why only rezone that half, not the other half right now?
Well, sir, address that to us and the commission first. Now,
Okay, my question is,
I understand that.
why are they only rezoning half of it?
Okay.
And I could probably explain it, because I was here 2.5 years ago, and they originally were trying to rezone this so they could put multifamily apartment complexes.
Yeah, I was there too.
The community spoke up, you guys spoke eloquently and professionally about it, and it did make sense at the time for this committee to vote on that. That's why I believe, and he can tell me if I'm different, that's why I believe he has looked at this, waited the time, and asked for a different rezoning so that he could take advantage of the property that he owns.
Yeah, but he could rezone the other half, or request to rezone the other half and have more lots to sell.
Yeah.
And I think Jeremy, I think Mr. Greenmeyer did address that, and said that, you know, the concern last time was Limit Street is in a much different state than even Vilas. And so this keeps any impact off of Limit and directs it to Vilas.
Well, we all know that people come in Limit, they're gonna come in Limit, they're gonna come both ways. You know, school, it's not gonna keep traffic off of Limit.
It doesn't
just because
introduce
they build
any
on theirs.
driveways onto Limit.
Valid issue of concern, as Mr. Burke addressed with this planning commission years ago with Greenmeyer, use of the property, traffic flow, impact to the school, danger, traffic, and a few other things you brought up. Valid issues
Yes.
of concern there, so we're aware of that, but thank you.
And that's just, my concern is, once they sell those and the construction and all that, it's, you're gonna have a lot more construction traffic on it, and then we're gonna have to try to go to Limit, and it's just gonna be,
And so
that's my only concern.
No,
so.
and I hear you, and totally
Right.
appreciate it. And then my question would be about what, if it were your property, what would you do with that?
I'm not against him,
Yeah.
but, rezoning it, building them houses, but then, like everybody's been saying, I think the street needs to be fixed first.
Yeah.
Limit probably first, then build, and then fix, that's just, so, yeah.
Valid issue with priorities of what should come first.
Yeah.
We got it, I got it, we really do, I got that. Thank you, sir. Anyone in open forum on this issue before I close, open forum on this issue only? Anyone? Okay, I'm closing any further discussion, open forum on this issue we're dealing with, the 2101 Vilas and portion of 2113 Vilas. I'd like to say we appreciate all of you who came, and we got to hear every one of your valid concerns and issues that you brought up with public safety and water flow and storm water sewerage and traffic flow and congestion. We got it. We're assessing that. So with that, I'm going to stop and look at the commissioners and say to these commissioners, do you have, Don, do you have any issues that we're only discussing? Is there any issues that concern you before you vote? Only for us to discuss this. Do you have any issues on this that you have not heard from Mr. Greenemeyer from the issues in the city?
Well, the only thing I see is that we're gonna go from 4 lots to 6 lots. And to me, that's probably just, I don't know if that's economics. Because for the 4 lots, the way the lots are going with, larger lots like that would probably sell as much as 6 lots. So I don't understand why we need to go to 6 lots. That's my whole question.
And again, we're hearing the issue on 3/4 lots. They looked at the size, they could have done 4, they could have done 5, based on 3/4 acre lots, which is a great lot for quarter life, in my opinion. They came up with the magic number 6. So with that, that's what it is right now we're dealing with. Okay.
When I was looking at, there's only 1, 2, 3 lots that are 100 feet.
Right.
Lots, all the rest are 150 or 140. So if we got 6 lots, we'd have 4 lots at 150, which most of the lots right in the area except the 2 to the east. That's my.
I understand. Still good quality of life issue with the lot size, but he mentioned quarter lot, half acre lots, and lots of them. Joe?
One, does the rezoning request meet its intent in front of us as a committee and our responsibilities as to not speculate? And I ask also, do we have a need to rezone? Is well enough okay? Is enough enough? 5 versus 6 or 4 versus 6, whatever that footage turns out to be. And we're going from low to medium. And like I say, without voting on that right now, those are the things that I'm asking myself and considering and would want our board to consider as well. Is well enough for that piece of property right now, given Greenmeyer's work, reconsideration, putting in the application for this and trying to see an economic development that could potentially be positive as well. It's a lot to talk about, and we'll have to vote on this.
And that's a valid concern that you're weighing the assessment, in my opinion, of value of my greater good and improvements that hopefully would be a win of the valid concerns we're hearing. We're hearing valid concerns. We can't take those away, but then we're hoping that, again, with Greenemeyer and development of this area, it would be some improvements there to improve what we're dealing with on that. Brian?
I too I'm looking at it from a perspective of 4 versus 6 or 3 or 2 or what that area of development needs and what it would look like, and then also valid concerns that we've heard about some of the infrastructure and could it support this this increase. I think there were a lot of good questions that were brought up here that I don't know that I'm satisfied with how they were answered. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm looking at it.
I lived in Leavenworth a long time, and I'm certainly aware of the violence and limit and the situation, the traffic in this town, especially the limit and the violence area there. But I'm also looking at it's not an apartment complex. It could be other things that would be that I would have trouble with. I would have trouble with some other things there that could cause greater damage. I'm hopeful that this rezoning request has a viable impact, and that again my coordination with that is going to improve some of the issues that the citizens have made us aware of on that one. So we as a planning commission now are in the position we can approve this request, we can deny this request, or we can delay this and request additional information. In my opinion,
Let me clarify. I will recommend.
we are,
city.
thank you, Joe. We are recommending approval to the city commissioner. We recommend approval to the commissioners. We can disapprove it, or we can request additional information. In my opinion, only from the input of the people who are here tonight with their passion and concern, I don't know to, in my opinion, to say, let's have a 30-day or 60-day delay. I don't think that would give us any more input than what we've heard tonight from valid concerns that people expressed to us. So in my opinion, I think the issue is that we should look at approve or disapprove on this issue. But I'll leave that to the commissioners, and I will take a motion from one of you on this request request rezoning of this property located at 21 Vilas and portion of located at 2003 Vilas from R125, low-density, single-family residential, to R19, which is medium-density, single-family residential.
I moved to table for additional information. I think if we had another hearing, where we could bring in Public Works and talk through some of the engineering questions that the citizens have, brought up, I think that would get the support that's needed if this is a rezoning request that we wanna do.
Okay, before I go to the other commissioners, because Brian has brought up an issue, Julie, I need to go to you, is that, and as we were discussing some of the stuff tonight, I said to myself, I sure wish there was a Public Works person here tonight to address some of these issues that we could ask them. Not that we could guarantee that they would do that, but to get their input on possible direction and impact of what Greenemeyer is asking, how that would impact Public Works and what they would do if this is approved, or they're not gonna do anything before the approval, the impact of Public Works. So is that a valid issue? If we have Public Works coming to us and delay this, that they would help us with answering some of the issues brought up tonight?
They could certainly come and answer questions to another meeting.
Which it would still be speculative on our parts though, correct? No,
Well, either way, it's speculative. If we approve this, we're not sure what he's gonna build there, so that's speculation.
and to have somebody else come in here and explain what could happen with the
Sure.
fixes afterwards doesn't change the fact that we have something in front of us
Right.
to vote on.
Sure.
And
And I feel like I need some more information.
Well, that's a valid point.
That's why I made the motion.
Well, okay, that's a valid point. So his recommendation is he made a motion to defer. So I'm just trying to understand the scope of this thing, Julie, with Public Works. If Public Works were here and we delayed this to the next meeting, and Public was here, I'm still feeling in my heart that they can't guarantee, promise, or say, we're going to improve the city, we're going to put in solid, we're gonna change the sewer, we're gonna fix the water problem, and then it's okay for Greenemeyer to proceed.
Yeah, they would just be answering questions.
Sure.
It wouldn't be any sort of guarantees or anything. It'd be answering more technical questions that I myself as an engineer can't answer.
Okay. So I was thinking that with some of this discussion, love to have a Public Works, since we knew we were gonna have input from the people, to voice their concern, to say what would probably happen if Public Works got involved with this project, what's gonna be developed in the future.
Yeah, and they could speak more in detail to their requirements, their specific requirements.
And that's
when
what I
plots are
was
developed.
talking about. There was discussion about permits. A permit to build would have to be put in, and these are the requirements for these permits and all of that. Someone to just explain that, and what those requirements are, or
agreed.
what the expectation is. I think that serves the people's question, and gives them a little bit more comfort in their community, and what's going on in their community.
I would like to
Well,
second,
just,
I would like to second his motion.
wait, but okay.
Now
I'll
you
see.
can have more discussion.
Okay, but I asked for a motion, and Brian has said that his motions, he's requesting to defer, to table it to further. So I'm asking for that. He's made, his motion, he's made a motion, he's made a motion to defer it. Now, we can either vote on that, yes or no, or we can go to another motion. So he's made a motion. Do we want to accept that motion?
Don't I need a
Got
second?
it?
I guess if you second
you would need
it,
a
you
second.
accept it.
Right. Do I? Yeah, okay.
So
Do I?
yeah, the procedure would be you'd need a second, and then once it's been
That's right. Okay,
seconded,
Okay, wait.
then
okay.
everyone would
There you
vote
go.
yea or
I'm
nay
ready.
on that
Thank
motion.
you, Julie.
That's right.
Okay, that's what I'm asking for. He's made that, so you second his concern
Right.
to table it. Do we need to put a 30-day, just table it for the next meeting?
You would just table it to the next planning
Okay.
commission
A
meeting.
motion has been made by Brian that we table this for 30 days for the next meeting, and then we request Public Works to be present for that meeting. Is that, can I say it that way?
Yes, sir. Mhm.
And I will just say too, before you vote, at whatever point this moves on to the city commission, cause again, whether it's this meeting or the next meeting, you'll end up making a recommendation to approve or deny, and it will move on to the city commission. And at that point, there will be another public
Public
hearing.
comment, yes.
Okay.
And Public Works staff is at city commission meetings to address concerns
Yeah.
at that meeting
I just don't
as
wanna
well,
have
so.
the same questions go unanswered here and then just get shifted to the city when that's our responsibility here to be that buffer.
Good point, Brian. Also, the people are here tonight, they have signed in, we would know who's here tonight, they would be personally notified of that they can be present for the next meeting with Public Works. The people who
For
are
a
here
planning
tonight
commission meeting?
Voicing their concerns.
No, we will not send out any more notices. We sent out the state statute requires us to notify people, that are within a 200-foot radius.
Okay.
We don't send out notices to
Thank you.
update on motions or meeting results.
The people here tonight that would know that if we table this, they'd be on the agenda for next month, and they can be present to come back next month if they choose.
Yeah, and it's all posted on the city's website as well.
Okay, there you go. I just want the people here to hear that comment. We table that comment.
And
Okay,
Julie, we're in a difficult situation because we have 4 of us, and there's another motion that could be made right now.
Correct.
And I make a motion to recommend denial of this rezoning and send that to the city commission. I don't see a need for it. I don't see a reason to make 6 out of 5. I just don't. And I've heard the community. I listened to you. That's my motion.
I second.
I mean, well, I'm on to a little confusion
there's
with
already-
Robert's Rule of Orders here.
So
With the, let's get back to,
Yeah.
help me with something, Richard.
I
want
withdraw
you-
my motion.
Okay. You withdrew your motion that we table it.
Yes.
You withdrew the motion to table.
Yes.
And it was seconded, but we didn't vote on that. I think we had a
Right.
motion.
No,
Right.
no vote. I withdraw.
Okay, I withdrew his motion. Now, I have a new motion again by Joe that your vote is to deny.
Recommend denial.
You recommend denial.
I second.
Okay, you recommend denial. There's a second on that. All in favor of denial on that vote, say vote. I'm gonna start with you on recommend denial. Don, do your vote?
Yes, I recommend,
You recommend denial.
yes.
Joe?
Yay.
Denial. Brian?
Yay.
Denial. My vote is no.
Okay.
It's the vote still carries, so we have denied this request, but I want the people here present to understand something. We are the planning commission. We have heard you, your concern. We have assessed the total situation that you've made us aware of. The planning commission at this moment has made a request to deny. The applicant still has the right to request an appeal on this.
Well, so it's not an appeal, this
It
goes to the city commission.
The city
So
commission.
this is just a recommendation that will go forward to the city commission, and that date will be August 23rd, and so that'll
And
be.
the people would have public comment during that time to share their concerns.
The city commissioner, though, for the people here, to reverse this. Got it? But our recommendation to them is denial. Got it? Okay, this concludes the first on our agenda, the 2101 violence and portion of the 2013 violence. I'm now moving on to the second on our agenda, Greenemeyer subdivision preliminary plat. Consider
So-
preliminary plat, those together.
So what I would suggest with the plats, and you can do something different, so it's a preliminary and a final plat associated with this.
Right.
Since they are contingent upon that rezoning, I would suggest that they be tabled
Tabled.
until such time that the city commission has made a final,
Okay.
ruling, so that way, should the city commission
So
go ahead
instate.
to approve it, then they could just come back and they wouldn't need to have a new application. It would just be sort of waiting on that city commission
I
final
need to
vote.
have a motion made so we can officially have that on record that we've tabled that for the
Yes,
next meeting.
so on each of these items, it would be recommendation
Are they
to
set?
table the item, table the plat until the city commission makes a final,
Okay,
decision on.
For
rezoning.
each plat.
Yes, for
Yeah.
each one.
I'll take a
So-
motion on that.
I'll move for the first.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that takes care of those
So that's
two
the
items.
preliminary, and then for the final plat, same.
Same thing.
thing.
We okay in the second, third on our agenda then?
Yep, so you got the preliminary plat is what the motion was just made on and voted, and then so you need a motion for the
I
final
need the
plat.
final plat, same motion for the final.
I'll
plat.
have a motion for the final plat to table.
No, second, seconded, and then all in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, so again, the rezoning request will go to the city commission on August 23rd, which is a Tuesday.
Okay, I'm now down to the last on our agenda, and that is 3400 Iowa Street. Conduct a public hearing. For this, the applicant owners are requesting a special use permit to all the operation, for the operation of a child care center. in their home located at 3400 Iowa Street. The property is currently zoned R19, medium-density, single-family residential district. Child care centers are allowed in the R1 zoning district with issuance of a special use permit. Staff report, please.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry this took us so long to get to you guys. Yeah,
Move up
on,
front.
move
We
on
thank
up.
you when we get
So-
in. Thank you, guys.
disappointed everybody left.
Yeah, I thought they were here for you.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
So yeah, so this is a request for a special use permit for a child care center at 3400 Iowa. And as you said, child care centers are allowed in the zoning district with approval of a special use permit. So the applicants, Brenda Riza and Liberty Hazelton, they previously had a special use permit for a child care center at their previous home at 3611 Shrine Park Road. That was approved in 2017 by the Planning Commission and City Commission. They've been licensed by the state since that time to conduct their child care business. They've recently moved and purchased this home at 3400 Iowa and are intending to continue their child care business at their current home. So we've provided a copy of their state license. They've met all the state requirements. And so we're just here to approve a new special use permit to conduct it at their new location. So they are licensed by the state to care for a maximum of 12 children, which is pretty standard for the state. The number of children in their care is dependent upon the ages. There's certain ratios that they have to adhere to. We do have a few conditions that child care centers do have to adhere to. The first is that it shall not be located along an arterial street as designated on the major street plan map. Iowa Street is a residential street, so those residential streets carry a lower volume of traffic. Second is that they shall provide at least 100 square feet of open space per child, and that's enclosed by a fence. They do have a backyard that's approximately 10,700 square feet, so they well exceed that requirement. The third is that they shall provide a loading zone capable of accommodating at least 2 autos for pickup and drop-off. The driveway can accommodate 4 cars, so they do meet that requirement. And the fourth is that they conform to all requirements from the state of Kansas and acquire a state of Kansas child care center license. And again, they have provided their license to the city, and they'll be required to provide their renewal every year when they get that. The fifth is that all child care centers operated in residential zoning districts shall be the only legal residence of the operator, meaning you have to live in the house you are conducting your child care in. This home is their legal residence. And the final is that child care centers, they may have 1 non-illuminated monument sign in the yard, no more than 3 square feet per side. And so again, any signage that they elect to display will be required to meet that requirement. So if you have any questions for staff, I can answer those now. The applicants obviously are here as well. And then just note that after we sent notification to property owners within 200 square feet, we did not receive any comments or concerns.
Does any commissioner have any questions for Julie? We open this up.
Julie, thanks for laying that out.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, Julie. And is there a maximum amount of children? What's the maximum amount of children?
12.
12 maximum,
That's right.
12 to 12.
We could have
Well, hold on, just wait, just a minute, hold on, wait, okay. Okay. Then thank you, Julie. I would like to have you step up to the podium, please, one of you, and introduce yourself to us, please.
I'm Liberty Hazelton. I'm the owner of the child care in discussion.
Thank you.
So we're allowed to have 12 children present per time. We can contract up to, like, we can break our schedule down if we got 12 full-time kids, and that's obviously all we're gonna be able to have. But if we have like 8 that's full-time, and then we could take those other positions and either break them into 4 part-times or we can do 6 part, as long as there's never over 12 children at one time, so.
I have a few questions, and please don't take my questions wrong when I ask you some. And that's, first of all, I want to start with thank you for what you do. Thank you for your service, because affordable child care is something so important in life to help people with. So thank you for affordable child care on that one. We noticed that in our report that we had, and it's easy to have a child care center and have some violations. And we know that your last inspection, you had 5 things, and in our report, we saw that of the 5 violations, 2 of those violations were corrected immediately. And we all know what inspections are like, so I got that one. The remaining 3 violations were corrected and documentation was properly sent to surveyors. So again, we know you corrected those. I'm just trying to understand, when you had that inspection and you corrected those 3, if you don't mind, what was the nature of those 3 violations? What were they?
They could be anything as simple from like, if, let's say, my kid left a thing of toothpaste on the counter where
Right.
we use, for the public restrooms for the little kids. It could be anything as simple as that. I mean, we've never had a violation to where they've come in and said, you know what, we need to shut you down for a week and you gotta correct this. We've never had no issues like that. Anything we've ever had is usually over like, we'll get a new kid in and something on his paperwork needs to be corrected, or
Sure.
they don't have their, shot records up to date, and that's something that's very fixable.
We understand, I was just trying to understand the nature. We understand it's easy to have violations like that. And
Oh,
thank you for taking care of the 2 right away. Thank you for documentation of the 3 and cleaning that up. And it's evident you got a clean bill of health and everything with your license looks good. And you've been in this business for how long?
Over 10 years.
That's what I thought, for over 10 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
And your other location besides here, where was the other location where you've been in?
3611 Shrine Park Road.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And that road is crazy. I got PTSD still when I back out on my driveway. Whenever they was talking about the traffic on the other roads, I wanted to get up and say something because I do pick up and drop off for her as well for the childcare. And I would have to go to that school and the traffic is just nuts. But where we're at now, it's a lot better, so.
Do you usually have 10 to 12 children there? Because I know it's important to try to max out your number. You can have up to 12.
Yeah.
Do you usually have that many children in your childcare?
Yeah, we do easily.
If you do have that 10 to 12 children, what does your staffing look like? If you had 12 children there, what does your staffing look like? I know it's pretty set what you're supposed to have. How many staffing do you have with
It's
the
us,
12?
and that fits the requirements.
Okay, that's what I thought.
2 adults, yeah.
Well,
That's what I
what we
thought.
did-
I just wondered minimum 2. Okay.
Yeah, and what we did before, like we have 2 adult children too, and when they was living in the house with us before, they both just got out of the house and moved out and did their own endeavors. But what we would do with them was, we would have them go through the classes with us, they do the background checks with us, they would do everything in case one of us had to step away. We would always have a backup there at the house, so we would never be out of compliance for our numbers, so.
Was evident that when people could have complained that they don't want you to do this, people could have said there's too much traffic, kids coming and going and everything else. And so it's evident to us that we don't have any people complaining of you having that child care center there. So that says a lot to us, that people are not protesting, that they don't want you having people coming, dropping off kids or coming and going. So that says a lot to us. So let me go on that one. Don, any comments, concern to them on this request? Don, any issue that you have?
I do not at this time.
At this time?
Yeah.
Joe?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we really appreciate that. This is our own homegrown business basically,
Right.
and
So
it's
important.
been great. If I could pay my bills with hugs and kisses, like the love that we get from the children that we've raised over the last 10 years, it'd be great. But unfortunately, we are very affordable compared to most other child care places. So we try to stay full all the time, and we have a really good, loving energy in our house for those kids.
Thank you again. You happy? Brian?
I saw on your letter to us that you purchased your first home, so congratulations
thank you.
for that,
Oh,
becoming
cool.
homeowners and all of that.
That's one of the things I was trying to tell you right now too, is like, this is a big step for us
Yeah.
too, because we essentially just bought our own first home and we just bought our business too.
Sure.
The same,
This is a huge investment for
Yes.
you all. There are 18 daycare centers in this county. And so we need every single
Absolutely.
one of them, especially the type of economics that Leavenworth has. So thank you for what you do and congratulations on the home. Both of you.
Wait,
that's hers.
Don's back. Don's back. He came.
I want to say one more thing. Bless you both. That's, I think that's terrific, yeah.
Any other commissioner from? Okay, have a seat. Thank you. I'm closing out.
And I will just say before you take a vote, just need you to open and close the public hearing. Just I
Yes.
know there's nobody else here, but we gotta.
I did. I was
Check
just
off the
going to
box.
close the public hearing portion when I said
I
I'm
don't
gonna
think you
close it.
technically opened
If
it.
I'll open it now. Thank you. Now we're officially closing the public hearing. Thank you for coming and being patient to get around to your agenda. Commissioners, we can vote to approve the request as submitted. on this, table it, or we can deny it?
So moved to approve.
I heard so.
Second.
Second, or a second. All in favor for the 3400 Iowa Street for the Child Care Center to be allowed to R1 zoning district with issuing special use permit? I've heard it first and second, all in favor. With that, I'll start with Donald, vote.
Yes. Aye.
Joe?
Yay.
Me, vote yes. Brian?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you. Keep up the
Yeah.
good work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, keep up good work.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just our last item is, tonight is Commissioner Weedower's last meeting.
Boy, did you ever take advantage of me for this last meeting?
I know, we thought you were gonna get out of it and we're gonna get it canceled, so.
Golly.
He is moving outside of the city, so we just have
Thank you.
a little bit of appreciation for you.
I cannot believe I've been on this board for 7 years. Mark Preissner was my next neighbor, he recommended I get on the board, I've been on it 7 years. Julie's fantastic, Michelle. I'm moving 2 blocks off
I know.
Metropole, of Eisenhower, 2 blocks off Pebble Beach, the house we bought, 2 blocks, I want a waiver, but I've really enjoyed this. I've really gotten to understand things, the bigger picture. You know, one thing is that, when I'm leaving, I said to Joe, we had some training in here, you have not gone to that training, but one thing I figured out in this thing is, Mark Price said to me sometime, what is the greater good? And I always like that comment. Second is, we had some training is, we've got to let people vent. We've got to let people get passionate and tell us what they really feel. And then what I've figured out is when people do that, if we have like Jeremy Greenmeyer or someone here, we need to have them come up and give an honest rebuttal or tell us what they're going to do. And that's something I really try to do is that get, you know, whatever we do, try to be responsive to the people who take their time and come here and give them an answer. They may not like the answer. Sometimes people stop me home and say, thanks, we appreciate it that you let me voice my opinion and that you heard me and you responded to me. So I think that's so important on long gone, but I cannot believe it's been 7 years, Julie.
It's been a minute.
Years on this board.
Well, we're gonna miss
So
you.
Thank you, guys. So when we move back to Leavenworth, I'll let you know.
Yeah, you can get back on.
Thanks again, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. Thank you. Wow. Wow, 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 wow.
And we do have, do I planning commission next month? And we do have a meeting.
Do we need to?
We have to close
No,
this.
Yeah.
Oh, I now am officially closing this meeting?
Yes,
Well, I was closed.
yep.
Thank you.
All right, and so